And welcome to Norm, the live Cheers podcast that is live but isn't a podcast. Great to be here with Dave and Tookie. I am Mike. We are here. It's all happening in real time. We usually have the buffer to keep us from being canceled. It's not here now. You could very well be seeing the end of Tookie or Dave's career. I don't know. I have a career to lose. So really, I'm the only one who's got nothing to lose. So I might just incite Dave and Tookie to say hateful things at different times. Tookie, does it ever bother you how Dave runs the media?
That's like half my family too. What do you mean?
There you go.
What do you mean?
I'm just going to be throwing out these little nuggets and see what the reaction is at different times. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm not going to pan this camera down, but you can infer the tightrope that we're all walking right now.
There you go. Why is Mike untying the net? What's going on? What's happening? Is he retying it? That's going to happen, right?
Yes.
Definitely. Don't worry. You're a couple of safe Melindas. All right.
R.I.P. to most of them, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny. I always thought of the Flying Melendez as like, oh man, it's amazing how talented they are, and like how they never got hurt. And then I actually looked into it. It's like, oh boy, a bunch of them died.
Yeah, they are. They're anytime there's a family business involved in popular entertainment, arena-based popular entertainment, your Von Erichs, your Wallendas, the fatality rate's usually pretty high.
I guess at some point when that many people die, I would kind of expect you to rethink your nets are for pussies theory. Right?
Well, yeah.
Would you at some point go, maybe a net?
I've always been very pro net.
Yeah. Safety first.
I don't know.
Safety first.
Yes. I have a net even when we sled. I've set up an entire barrier by the bottom of our gentle hill.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. Respect.
It's important to just ease into stopping. Just have a little, like the snow is just welcoming you into its loving white embrace.
Oh, you hear that, Tookie?
It sounds like a Vampire Weekend lyric.
Yep. I don't know about this, Dave. Yeah. So anyway, the net at the end of the hill reminds me that I watched The Running Man last night. That's how Richard Dawson met his end. It is, for a movie set in a dystopian future of 2017, it is the most 80s thing you will ever watch in your life. It's really amazing. It's the most Schwarzenegger movie maybe he ever did. And I'm surprised it's not mentioned more in his canon as being ultra Schwarzenegger. Like, it's almost a Schwarzenegger parody. The one-liners in it are amazing. The fact that often the Schwarzenegger one-liners are kind of like dad jokes, but they're kind of funny. Like, these are legit bad all throughout. They're really poor. Like, boy, that it felt like it was everyone's first take. Like, they were all placeholders, and the script writer was supposed to go back and improve them and forgot.
Well, I'm still processing Total Recall, so there's that.
Oh, these are that's a legit good movie. I really will go back and watch Total Recall over and over again. If you watch The Running Man, though, it's a fun bad movie. It's really in that sweet spot of if you're ready to watch something. It's like the difference between Predator and Commando.
Oh. Like,
Predator is like, oh, this is a fun 80s action movie, and Commando is like, this is insane. Like, how much cocaine did they do before they made Commando? That's very Running Man. Although I'm going to say this, Richard Dawson plays the game show host in The Running Man, and he is outstanding.
He's tremendous in that film. Like with no regard for his career or image. Like, this is like sort of like maybe one of the last gasps of like pre-branding celebrity. This was just a guy who was like, this seems like an interesting opportunity. I'm gonna run with it, and he kills it in that film.
Isn't Richard Dawson the one who on Family Feud would kiss everybody's wife on the mouth?
Yes, he is. Absolutely.
Okay.
And that's the thing. Like, he came from an acting background. He had been an actor. He did Hogan's Heroes for years.
Oh,
And then he became a game show host, and then his peak, I think, was playing a game show host in this movie, and he
wow.
was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, like legit. Like I was like, Jesus, he's great in this.
Mm.
Everyone else is so over the top and two dimensional, and he's really great. Yeah,
I'm not mad.
Running Man, Amazon Prime, check it out.
But we also just finished the menu this evening.
Oh, what'd you think?
A certain someone was cackling throughout, but it not for me. Not for me.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. It was a lot. It was. I have a hard time watching Chef Voudemort torture people. So
It is, but I really enjoyed the menu. I have to say, I thought it was like this it was balancing comedy horror really beautifully with
Yes.
something to say.
Yes.
And I liked that a lot.
I think it's the fact that it felt like it could be real to me at some point. That was that was like, I gotta tune out.
Yeah, I enjoyed. Dave, have you seen the menu?
I have not. We as a family embarked. We took our first gentle steps down the new Natasha Lyonne series, Poker Face. That's been our kind of like entry into the TV zeitgeist. Which that first episode is pretty delightful.
Okay.
I'm a fan. I've enjoyed it. We've watched the first 3. I like it. It is unabashedly inspired by Columbo. Like even the way they do the credits.
That's what I've heard. That's what I've heard.
It's inspired by Columbo. It's really fun.
Which, like, I guess the new iteration of Norm the Cheers podcast might be a Columbo recap. I don't know. I'm still stuck on that one episode where he had Little Richard help him solve a murder.
Oh, which one was that?
It was like one of the 90s Columbos, not the 70s, 80s Columbos. It was part of the reboot.
That amazing. Shit might need to get watched tonight.
What, like, to wait until the 90s to tap Little Richard to solve a murder? Like, wait until you're 30 years from Little Richard's heyday before you tap Little Richard for a guest spot. Like, just everything is working about that particular episode. I love that.
It's the beauty of Columbo. No one saw that coming.
Yeah, ever since, I don't know how I don't remember the exact circumstances under which my 2 favorite dads introduced me to the world of Columbo, but I'm very much embedded in Columbo, just fandom, lore, all of that. Love Columbo.
I'm delighted. Yeah. I'm absolutely tickled. I remember how it happened. We were talking about style.
Oh.
Like we were talking about if you ever wanted to see real style of the 70s, like what the house is like, what the interior is like, what, because when you see retrospective flashback stuff, they're trying to recreate it. This is our day-to-day life. And it's amazing. And we talked about that. And then we talked about how much we loved Columbo. And I've never sold anyone on Columbo who was disappointed.
Yeah, no, I don't even have the words to express.
It's delightful. And it's the only
when we're ready, we have the tag.
We got a title.
Yep.
We got a title.
We do.
And it's worth everyone watching, if only because it's the only place where you can see rich people actually going to jail.
Yeah.
Oh, God bless you, Columbo. To think that Little Richard episode of Columbo was sitting there while I was wasting an hour and a half of my life on Tar.
Oh. Well, now you know about it.
Did I tell you about Tar?
I don't think so.
Oh, I hated it. Like, to the point where I felt like a bad, artist. Because everyone loved it so much. And my wife was so excited. Jen was so excited about it. It's like in the world of concert music, she's a musician. And I was like, oh, I love Cate Blanchett. Oh, it's great to have Todd Fuller back. This is so exciting. And I literally said, I need to stop watching.
Ooh.
Because there was another hour left of it. And I don't know. I mean, if people enjoyed it, and it's a great performance, but it's so frustrating. It's being hailed as, oh, it's this great thing. And I'm like, you see everything coming 10 minutes before it happens, at least. There was nothing surprising in it. And it was so, I was offended. And somebody wrote an article about this. We watched it a few weeks ago. And then somebody wrote an article that echoed what I was saying to Jen about what bothered me about it was, all right, you see all this abuse of power in the world of conducting and classical music and people sexually harassing and all this stuff. And it's always like men doing all this stuff. And we're finally going to tell the story and we're going to make the main perpetrator a lesbian. This has not happened. Why is this happening? Like this power dynamic, this abuse of power that you aren't finding anywhere, but we're going to make this movie about her. Mm-hmm. And it bugged the hell out of me. So that bugged me.
It can't happen. It's just that it's not rooted in something that it persists like the way a power dynamic between men on women does.
No, nothing is impossible, but it's kind of reminded me of Disclosure, where it's like, hey, we're finally tackling sexual harassment in the workplace, and it's Demi Moore sexually harassing Michael Douglas. Really? Yeah. This is our big foray? This is how it normally works?
Everything you're describing about Tar is how I feel about the work of Dave Malloy. All disrespect to Dave Malloy. I'm putting it out there right now. Moby Dick was 3 hours of ass that I can never get back.
I'm so sorry. Where did you see Moby Dick? Well, you know what? Don't say it. It's gonna. We don't need to alienate anybody in our local community.
But they know what they did, and, and I still patronize. I still am a patron of that venue. I just never want to see Moby Dick the musical ever staged ever again. Great comment.
When you know the story of Moby Dick, particularly the true story of Moby Dick, it doesn't seem like it would lend itself well to song.
No.
An opera, maybe.
No. Great comment. Like, you know what pisses me off so much? Like, we saw it on Broadway. And
did you see Groban do it?
Yeah. No knock to the actors. It's not. I never, as somebody who aspired to be a thespian at one point, I never fault the actors, right? It's the material. And like, oh my God, dude didn't even try. He just put prose to a tune. Dude did not try. I have a lot of feelings.
Right. Gotta rhyme that shit.
Yeah. It's not even that it has to rhyme, but like to just extract the prose word for word and just be like, Natasha, I'm walking up the stairs of the Kremlin. Like, fuck you know. All right. Anyway.
Hey, Dave Malloy needs to feel your wrath.
He does. He needs
I'm done protecting him.
Talk to him, please. I'll
do what I can.
I think
but in terms of supporting local artists, there's a bar in Boston where everybody knows your name, and it's Cheers. And this week, it's Diamond Sam. Sam needs to buy a diamond in season 5, episode 14. It's a classic. We need to do an episode about them being engaged, but we don't want to do too much about them being engaged. So let's just talk about the ring. I have a lot of thoughts about this week's episode. It was something. There's some things, and I don't think I'm not going off on the De Beers Diamond Cartel in the middle of all of this. It's happening.
You know what my favorite cartel is?
Tell me.
The banana cartels of days of yore. The nickname for them was El Pulpo, which means the octopus because it has its arms and tentacles everywhere.
Ew.
The Chiquita Banana Cartel. You got to look it up. It's great.
I'm sure there's evil there, but at least they didn't try to trick me into spending 2 months' salary on a bunch of bananas.
True.
Fuckers. All right. Dave, what happened when we were finding out about what Sam can and cannot afford?
So this premiered on January 15th, 1987. And on January 20th, 1987, an album dropped, which truly an artifact of its time. It was accompanied with an hour-long special on HBO, which I knew about the album. I didn't know about the special until hours ago. The album is, of course, The Return of Bruno, fronted by the insanely talented at many things, not all of which include music, Bruce Willis.
Bruce, the other Bruce.
Bruce had done a really popular. It's shown up at a really popular string of Bartles and James wine cooler commercials. Had sort of like sang as part of that commercial. Had sort of established like some sort of gentle musical cred, and they created this album as a way to sort of gently cash in on that. It's all like Motown and R&B covers. His singing is fine. I think as he's singing, he's aware of what he's doing. Like
look, when your dad does this at Christmas, it's fine. It's fine because no one else has to see it.
I will say, having watched about 15 minutes of the accompanying mockumentary, and this must be one of the first sort of post Spinal Tap mockumentaries that existed in popular culture. It aired on HBO. It's actually genuinely pretty funny. What I watched of it. It's hosted by Dick Clark, and it tells the story of this lost artist Bruno Radolini, whose this album is like his sort of comeback. There's a lot of like sort of footage of Bruce Willis in different wigs, sort of cut into famous musical events, including Woodstock. It's definitely worth the music is what the music is. And I would say if you're interested in learning a little bit about this, watch some of that film. You'll get, there's plenty of the music used as part of it, and you'll get the sort of added bonus of seeing Bruce Willis in a Beatle wig.
And where would we find this masterpiece?
This is available on YouTube currently. You don't have to pay a dime to watch this. And it really is like, in terms of like sort of like 80s programming, as HBO is kind of like finding its way, HBO starting to develop this sort of ability to sort of generate special programming around events. And this is kind of a nice early version of this like kind of like celebrity oriented kind of like special televised event that they'd go on to do a lot of different versions of, like with Madonna and like some other like sort of documentary stuff over the years. But this is it's genuinely funny. The music is genuinely vanilla, and let's all enjoy Bruce Willis while we can, because the man is still a national treasure.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because people forget how funny he was when he started. I'm waiting legit, for someone to get the streaming rights to Moonlighting. It's been one of the weirdest, most contested behind-the-scenes rights battles for a while. And supposedly they just figured it out who owns the rights, and it's going to stream somewhere, but they don't know where yet. But Moonlighting is a very, very 80s, very well done detective show.
Absolutely. And he's phenomenal. And we forget, like, he's so physical. We forget how good he is. Ironically, he was so good with dialogue, and to
he was
have
great.
Lost that now is like one sort of small part of a much larger tragedy.
Yeah. It's sad.
Yeah.
It's a sad thing. All right. Well, now that Dave has brought us down, Tookie, can you tell us about the cold open?
Sure. Another short but sweet one. I think that's the direction that they're going to go towards for the rest of the series, yeah?
I do feel like there's been a consistent shift towards shorter, interchangeable cold opens that can be for almost any episode.
Yeah. So with this one, we enter, and I will say, I don't want to hold us up too long, but it's nice to see Frasier and Woody have something to do.
Mm-hmm.
So we enter into the bar, and Frasier is reading the paper to Norman Cliff, and he's like, oh, here's something about a show of impressionists coming to Boston this fall. And Cliff says, oh, why wait? I do one that'll knock your socks off. And Carla says, well, he's talking about French painters, you doofus. And Cliff is like, well, I do a great Cezanne. Rose de pose, the light is perfect. And Norm proceeds to do a John Wayne, which is, you better smile when you say that, Pilgrim. And Frasier caps it off with I think it's Jimmy Stewart? James Stewart?
It is Jimmy Stewart, yes.
Yeah, just a darn second, young fella. And Woody's like, okay, I got one. Watch this. So he like turns around and stuffs something to, give himself a pot belly and gets a cigarette. And he's hey, fellas, I believe we might just have a little rain before the day's over. And Fraser's like, Woody, who's that? Because everybody's confused. And he's like, oh, it's Dwight Womack, the mayor of Hanover, Indiana. And Cliff's like, Woody, when you do impressions, you have to do impressions of famous people. And Wood says, well, if I could do somebody famous, why would I be doing Dwight Womack? And everybody's just like, yeah, I got a point. So roll credits. Yep.
Not the strongest cold open this week. You see stuff coming. Although it does contain my 80s moment of the week, which is John Wayne and James Stewart being the go-to impressions.
Yeah,
which was very much an 80s thing. Yeah, those were, and they had like a 20-year reign of being impressions that really, it started to peter out towards the end of the 80s and died in the 90s. No one would do a Jimmy Stewart or John Wayne any longer.
Pilgrim was the giveaway for me as one of my 80s moments where it was like, oh, yeah, we don't do that. The last most notable, at least for the culture, John Wayne impression is the Rappin' Duke.
Oh.
The song, the Rappin' Duke, Da-ha, da-ha, because that's supposed to be an impression of the way John Wayne laughs. Like apparently he laughs like da-ha, da-ha or something like that. But yeah, if you look up the Rappin' Duke, and it gets a shout, the most famous shout out of all is in the Notorious B.I.G.'s Juicy. Yeah. But the Rappin'
now I need to look all this up.
Yeah, it's a lot. But that's like the most John Wayne, like the most prominent John Wayne impression, if you will, that has persisted throughout the decades. And even still, people like don't even know what that reference is about.
It's fading away. Yeah. John Wayne, aside from being brought up on social media for some pretty bad things he said about 7-8 years ago, has really faded from the culture in a big way, in a way that I don't think people expected him to. I think people really thought he was going to endure the way that Jimmy Stewart has in a lot of ways. But Jimmy has helped out a lot by It's a Wonderful Life and having that be guaranteed to play every year beyond that. And, part of the problem is you kind of go back and watch some of the John Wayne stuff and it's not well made.
No.
They tried to put out a lot of shit while he was popular.
Yeah.
Yep. And John was not putting out a lot of effort.
Well, he didn't. He also didn't have his image licensed to the gills like poor Marilyn Monroe. And I think that's part of what has helped her legacy endure, even if it's not her wishes.
Yeah.
To say.
But part of that too, you are not wrong, and there's a lot of licensing, and the tragedy of Marilyn is part of what has kept her in the zeitgeist as well. But also, Marilyn Monroe was more talented than John Wayne. Like John Wayne, I will say this for John Wayne, and I don't mean to. Well, fuck it, I'll piss on his grave. He was a prick.
Do it.
John Wayne, when you go back and look at those movies, he was very much just playing John Wayne every time, which is not always the worst thing. Jimmy Stewart basically played Jimmy Stewart the whole time. But Jimmy Stewart did a lot of interesting things while playing Jimmy Stewart. John Wayne didn't waste time with anything interesting. He just went out and stood in front of the camera, and he talked about that too. He said, acting ain't work. It's like, well, your acting isn't work. And they actually talked about how Bogart really kind of hated John Wayne for putting it down. And Bogart said that. It's like, hey, I'm working.
Yeah.
I'm trying hard. I'm doing the best I can.
Are we gonna have...
Which is why Bogart has endured beautifully, and his movies are still magnificent. And John Wayne just basically did 1.5 hour long commercials for how bad Native Americans are. And that was John Wayne's career.
Are we going to have a John Wayne Denzel debate about who plays the character, or John Wayne and Ryan Reynolds? Because Ryan Reynolds just plays Ryan Reynolds in every movie now.
Oh, contraire. No, Ryan Reynolds is a talented dude. Now, Ryan Reynolds is a great example of, look, he's a personality unto himself, and we enjoy watching Ryan Reynolds go out there and be Ryan Reynolds and be very funny. Ryan Reynolds also is a terrific actor. Did you ever see Buried, where it's basically him in a coffin for an hour and a half?
Oh, God.
Really, really good. He is great in Free Guy. He is sweet. He is charming. He is an action story. It's great. It's really fun. Mississippi Grind is this little art house movie he made, this two-hander road trip movie about two gamblers. It's really good. He's amazing as Deadpool. It's not easy to do what he does as Deadpool. Ryan Reynolds is excellent.
When he's not hired to play Ryan Reynolds, when he pushes himself, when he's given parameters.
Yes, and that is going to happen. But it's very weird to me that I'm on the side of the Denzel debate with Tookie that I am on. But movie stars, almost everyone who's not Daniel Day-Lewis, at some point, you also say, look, they're hiring me to be me in what is essentially a really fun movie. And we can go out there and they can still be fun. And you go out there and have a good time with that. And Denzel has cashed some checks, and Ryan Reynolds has cashed some checks. Jimmy Stewart cashed some checks. Like literally, Kate Blanchett has cashed some checks.
Okay.
Everybody who's not Daniel Day-Lewis cashes some checks. And even Daniel Day-Lewis did Last of the Mohicans, which don't tell me that was your artistic drive. So they all do it. I feel like you're really you're like pointing at a couple of people and saying, look at what these guys do. It's like they all do that at some point. You got to pay for the house.
I guess, Tilda Swinton really stretched it by playing what is supposed to be an Asian character, but
Oh, well, that's a totally different argument. Like now we're in the Mickey Rooney world of, hey, you should have known better.
Well, listen,
there's a big difference between Van Wilder and Tilda Swinton going, by the way, let's just pretend I'm Asian.
And certainly John Wayne did the same. So I feel like now we're going after
Genghis Khan.
Like we're mad at John Wayne when he's playing John Wayne. When he stretches himself, it's bad. Like, what do you want the poor guy to do?
Not play Genghis Khan is what I want John.
That is probably.
John Wayne did not stretch himself. The makeup department stretched themselves. John Wayne was still John Wayne.
There should have been someone on the other end of that phone being like, John, no, hang up, John.
How much of our population do you think is 8% related to John Wayne after he played Genghis Khan?
God. I don't want to think about how John got around. All right. By the way, you can tell how into the week's episode we are by how long it takes us to actually get to. And here's what happened in this week's episode. All right, so this week's episode kind of starts strong. There's only an A story. Sam and Diane are coming in. I enjoyed the first 3 minutes of this episode. I think it's strong. They're coming in to announce their engagement. Sam is going to let Diane do it. Diane says, "You're the man," which hit weird. "You're the man. You should announce it." But she tells him what to say, and it includes my joke of the week, which is nobody's going to know who the Lunts are.
So stupid.
And I like it because not a ton of people are going to get that, but the people who do are going to love it. Nobody knows who the Lunts are. They announce it, and then it all becomes, they're a very famous acting couple. Which is, if you ever see Waiting for Guffman, there's a fun Luntz joke there. He calls Catherine O'Hara and Fred Willard the Lunts of Blaine. That is a reference to them. They're talking about how they are engaged. Carla cannot accept it, so she spends the rest of the episode in denial. Everyone is talking about that. Frasier has to put in a couple of snide remarks about her staying for the ceremony this time. And then it all becomes about an engagement ring. There's a ring in the window that Diane loves. And she says, "Oh, no, I'd be much happier with any of the smaller stones." Sam says, "No, you're getting the best husband. You should get the best ring." Promises the ring without saying how much the ring costs. And now we know what the rest of the episode is going to be. Diane leaves. He calls and finds out that the ring is $5,200, which opens up this whole Pandora's box for me about, it was another argument for potentially my 80s moment. It was right before De Beers, fuck you, De Beers, decided that 2 months' salary is what you should spend on a ring. That was something that began in the 80s. And I'm sorry, it was weird because the ring was going to be $5,200, and that was an amount that was so big that he laughs and hangs up immediately. Which, if that was 2 months' salary, that means that Sam Malone made $25,000 a year. Which even in 1987, Sam was doing better than that. So it was kind of weird that that was the price they put on the ring.
Yeah.
$5,200. He can't possibly imagine spending $5,200 on this ring. So then Norm says, I got my buddy Bruce. He gets them wholesale, so you're not paying the markup. It's the same gold, same diamonds. All right, we're going to get that ring. Fraser thinks it's a bad idea. And this sets up the central paradox of the whole episode for me, because later on, Diane is going to find out that the ring did not actually come from the store. The whole episode is basically him getting the ring on wholesale, putting it on her finger, and all these little moments where she's almost going to find out that he didn't get the ring from the store, and he has to keep spending it, and then he buys the ring from the store. She finds out about it. She throws the ring out. He stops and smashes his 67 Corvette, which means he's making more than 25 grand a year. And they are on what is clearly the Universal backlot, but they pretend is a road in Boston, looking for the ring. And then, there's a denouement where, okay, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that, and they're still in love. And that's as much summing up as I'm going to do. Because here's the thing. I was vexed by the central issue of the episode, which is Sam doesn't want to spend $5,200 on it. If the ring is wholesale, if it is the same gold and the same diamonds, why does that need to be a secret? I don't get it. I guess the brand name matters to people, but it is something I was kind of curious about your opinion of as well, Tookie, as someone who would have received an engagement ring.
Yeah.
As Dave and I have both bought engagement rings.
Yeah.
If I'd gotten a good deal on a genuine gold and all the real diamonds, and so good that she's looking at it and does not notice that it is not the one that she fell in love with, she loves this ring. As long as it's not paste diamonds and fake gold, I don't understand the central crux.
It's like, if you got a good deal on a beautiful ring, fantastic.
It's the ring she wanted.
Yeah.
Like
It's gold and diamonds.
Yeah. And it's still real gold. So
Exactly.
who cares? You can
If it is simply getting it on wholesale, that's just smart, right?
Yes. And you can still say to people, like, you know, other people don't need to know. Because if it looks like the one in the window, you could say it's the one in the window.
It's the whole point.
Yeah.
It is gold. It is diamonds.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, the whole like jewelry market in multiple cities, they're gigantic wholesalers where that's where you go to get them if you don't want to have to pay for the markup. Yeah. And it's the jewelry that the wholesalers then pass on to the jewelers.
Right.
It's the same ring. What are we hiding?
I don't know. But
the engagement ring that I gave to Melissa was actually like, it was a somewhat similar. I have a friend who's a jewelry designer, so
cool.
Like
I remember that, yeah.
Those materials were purchased wholesale, and then she crafted them into the ring that I knew she wanted. So yeah, it in some ways like saved me a lot of money from like a high-end jewelry store, but it's like in some ways like I feel like that makes the ring even more sort of personalized.
Yes.
It's like I made this exactly to your specifications.
Yeah.
I'm willing to go along with so many sitcom tropes and so much of this and just kind of accept it, that the whole problem of this whole week's episode was that the same gold and diamonds didn't come from the store where she saw it. If she can't tell the difference, if it's real, if all of this is real, why are we hiding it? Why are we going through the machinations of, no, I've got to buy the dresses that she saw in the window. I have to go and buy the sterling silver corn cob holder so I get in the box. I've got to go through all of this. I don't get that. And that's why, like, it was a slog watching it the second time.
Mike,
I was waiting to see if I would feel differently, and I hated it. Tell me why.
You know why? And it's the entire, the thesis, the crux of this entire podcast? Capitalism, man. It's capitalism.
I don't like
capitalism. They gotta sell people on the idea that we gotta get this lady the ring from the store.
it seemed like I don't know, like we spent a lot of time with Diane Chambers at this point, and we know she's a snob, and we know she's a know-it-all, but she's not like we haven't seen this side of her. Like they've never presented a side of her that's like she is obscenely brand conscious to the point of like, you know, like when she threw the ring out the window, I was like, that is absolutely not an action that this character would take.
She's from Connecticut.
No.
But she's from Connecticut.
Like she's not spoiled, you know. She's an intellectual, and she's over intellectual, and she's over analytical, and she is snobbish, but like she's not like I just haven't seen anything that would say like, oh, like this character's just gonna like fling even a $1,200 ring out the window.
It feels weird.
Yeah,
feels weird. And that's what I want to say. I do like Rhea Perlman in this episode, how she handles the denial. I thought it was a tight Carla episode. I thought she was funny. I thought Frasier had some funny lines in terms of how he was helping her through it. I thought that was good. I really felt like, and by the way, this is like, I wonder if Woody Harrelson was shooting something during these last few episodes. The poor guy's getting nothing to do these last few.
Oh.
Yeah.
Was this around the time of White Men Can't Jump?
I think that was 90.
Okay.
I feel like that was later.
Okay.
Yeah, because he was really still just breaking on Cheers. Yeah, he's only halfway through his second season. I don't think he got White Men Can't Jump for a little while.
Okay.
I don't know if we could check the dates on that, but it was not 87.
Okay.
Yeah.
White Men Can't Jump was 92, so yeah.
92. Yeah. Yeah, it was not yet.
I was just barely coming into consciousness then.
Mm-hmm. Same. Dave was just waking up in my dorm room.
Yeah.
What a morning it was. Tell me, I have a thought, and I don't know if this is ridiculous. Here's an interesting comment from Kelly before I say it.
Yes.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the 80s thing.
Yeah.
And
I think that's a fair point that Kelly is making, but I also feel like that was about paying for quality. And if you get the same exact china from a wholesaler, I don't think people would have lost their minds about that.
It's just, I think though, at around this time is when the wedding industrial complex was really coming into its own and really like getting more hell-bent on selling women the idea of like upmark and or, you know, upselling women on things. Because I look at like my parents and other like people in my family's wedding photo, like older wedding photos, and it was always so simple.
Much
and it was just
simpler.
like courthouse, or like they got married at their house, or a backyard or something. The dresses weren't $3,000. It wasn't like this insane thing.
No, it was literally 88 when they introduced the idea of, spend 2 months' salary on a ring, which is absurd. It's nuts. Because the only thing I remember like prominently from my very, very early childhood that I didn't quite get, but it was like kind of on its way out when I started to grow up a little bit as a kid. How long ago did they start the tradition of the running of the brides? Because that's what I think of as like spectacle, as part of the spectacle for weddings. Boy, you got me.
Basement. Hi, Kelly.
You got me. I have no idea when the running of the brides began.
Yeah. Because I remember the news story where it's like, oh, this is the last one ever.
Yeah. I also feel like wedding dresses had importance longer than incredibly expensive ceremonies and rings. Like dresses got passed down.
Yeah. Yeah. But now you don't want like the other bride's cooties. Like it's a whole thing where you don't want the other bride's juju from a wedding dress. Unless the marriage is still intact, which like, marriages lasted longer back in those times because, you know, our grandmothers got married in a time before women could have their own credit cards without a man co-signing. So it's just different. It was just different.
It is. It was so different.
My dress, $300.
Very well done.
Yes.
Very well done. I will say this though. when I heard about Jen's, my wife's like day going out to try dresses, and when I occasionally have seen Say Yes to the Dress, it looks like a fun day.
Ooh,
I will not lie, that looks like a fun day.
It's a fun time, but Say Yes to the Dress itself, just like any other reality show, is poop. Because like it's like they don't even cater to you like it looks on the show. It's like a revolving door in and out of just women trying on stuff, and they to ask you to bring people who you think would be good for TV and have strong personalities and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. But at the same time, like trying on a bunch of pretty dresses all day, I can see where that would be a good time.
Yeah. It's fun.
I get that.
It's
as
fun.
Opposed to the rented tux where you're just trying to get through it as quick as possible.
Yeah. No, it's a fun time. But it's a point of pride for me that my dress was only $300.
And I would expect nothing less than a practical decision from Tookie Kavanaugh.
Thank you.
We are so
all right, let's
sensible.
run through some categories here.
Oh, can I ask one question? I want to poll you guys real quick before we jump into the categories.
Yeah.
I'm ready to be polled.
So I was watching this episode and having the same feeling as you guys, like feeling like this is just a kind of a drag to watch. And I was trying to like figure out like besides like the wedding stuff and the sort of shallowness of it, like what was behind that. And I was like, okay, it just seems like, and I felt this way like about last week's episode too. Like it seems like Ted Danson is not enjoying himself. And I was like, well, maybe it's just that Ted Danson is a good enough actor that Sam, knowing his marriage is doomed subconsciously and choosing to sort of play that discomfort, you know, that sort of inner conflict is kind of portraying itself on screen as Ted Danson, the actor, isn't having fun. But in reality, it's Sam Malone kind of wrestling with the idea that like he knows this is not going to work out. I guess my question is, do you think is it the actor? Is it like, or is it the character? Or is it some combination of both? Because it does like, usually his like kind of like, there's something about Ted Danson that can kind of like lift you along even a mediocre episode of Cheers. And the last two, I feel like I'm being dragged along by the feet.
Personally, I think it's simply the way that character is written these last couple of episodes, which is not completely consistent with who the character is and not following a logical pattern that is easy to play. I mean, in this episode, he is playing a guy, and obviously Sam Malone makes poor decisions often. But when you look at it, and you look at a guy who has, you know, paid for 67 bets, he's paid for this kind of stuff, it feels weird right off the bat that he would have no idea what a ring cost. He's been married before. That, and again, I get back to, I get that $5,200 is not nothing, but at the same time, you hear that, and like even kind of, you know, going back and judging by the numbers of the day, it's not this amount that I think should have caused Sam Malone to freak out. Like, I think that would be a number right around what he was thinking that ring would cost. And it sets it all up kind of weird. And I think on some level, he's just playing a character whose lines have been written in a way that don't really drive the story forward.
Yeah, it just feels like he's kind of like wrestling with it in this way that's just like, it feels like muscular. And usually like the thing about Ted Danson I think about is this like kind of ethereal, almost like kind of grace he has of sort of like moving through, you know, the shows, and just like as he's, you know, his presence is like so easeful. And this is just like watching like a guy haul water up a hill.
Yeah.
Well, it's, you know, he's setting him up as having to do all these tasks that are exhausting him, and he's having to lie about it, and he feels conflicted about it, and you know.
Can we say that that's good method acting then, because it's so believable?
I guess. But I guess I can also feel like, man, it wouldn't be surprising if that actor at this point was like, I'm kind like, because we know Shelley Long as an actor is saying like publicly, like, you know, I'm pretty done with this. Like I feel like I've told this story, and it feels like Ted Danson is also kind of in that boat, at least with the energy he's putting out in these episodes. Like, all right, let's finish this up. And it just makes it kind of amazing that this show has the second life that it does, that he's he and the show are so completely re-energized in this kind of new way when Kirstie Alley shows up.
Question. I know I don't want to cut too much into our time. When was Money Pit? Because it's a movie that my family had on VHS.
I think 86. As Dave looks it up. Yeah.
Okay. Because that was sort of her first foray into cinema. Or one of the early.
Her big break was Night Shift,
Nice.
which was a hit. It was her and Michael Keaton and Henry Winkler. And we've referenced it before. It might not have aged well in many ways. And yet I saw it again and I enjoyed it again. I really, they're all so good in their roles that I enjoy it quite a bit.
Okay.
Yeah. And she plays a sex worker in that movie. And it was a hit. It got attention. I mean, it wasn't Star Wars, but it did well.
Okay.
So yeah, she had done that and she had done Money Pit, which did okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't a huge hit. And it wasn't the best reviewed movie ever.
I just remember my parents loved that movie. And that was my first taste of Tom Hanks was Money Pit on VHS.
Yeah. Money Pit's fun.
Yeah.
I enjoy Money Pit, but it was not a gigantic hit.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yes, she was definitely starting to get movie roles and she was, doing Hello Again. She was doing Troop Beverly Hills, getting ready to do that one. Yeah. And
is that the Girl Scout Cookies movie?
That is the Girl Scout movie. Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, Shelley had a tough run at the box office.
Oh, wow.
Tough run at the box office.
My dad didn't want me to join the Girl Scouts when I was little.
Good for him. I think that was a strong choice. Although I like the Girl Scouts much better than the Boy Scouts. I feel like the Girl Scouts, aside from the cookies, they do a lot right.
Yeah.
Usually when I hear Girl Scout news, it's pretty positive.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you hear like the Boy Scouts of America, you're like, uh-oh. Where are we going with this?
Yeah.
All right. Let's burn through some categories here. I've done my joke of the week. Tookie, what was your joke of the week this week?
Did I have a joke of the week? I think yeah. When was it Sam or Diane? But when they announce and Diane, I think, says, we'll be toasting our nuptials. And Woody says, ouch.
Also fun.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Fun little Woody moment. Yes.
Perfectly fine.
Dave, your joke of the week.
Got to give it to Al Rosen. On his little, you could see it coming a mile away because he's just shuffling across the stage.
Yep.
And when Cliff says he was going to be, we're going to be down to one stud left to please the ladies of Boston, and Al Rosen shuffles into camera and says, "What does he say? I'm ready for it too." And continues going.
Beautiful. All the delivery, perfect. Dave, your 80s thing of the week.
I'm gonna go with the impact of the in the Corvette when it gets hit. No airbag deploys. I was like,
it's the 60s.
That is a car, and like no cars are really expected. When it got hit, I was like, I realized I was sort of like waiting for a deployment and realizing that no car, even a new car in 1987, or a show that was shot in 86, is probably not going to be equipped with an airbag at this point.
Yep. Although I will say, if a 67 Corvette is rear-ended today, it will also not have an airbag.
That is absolutely true.
Yeah. Tookie, your 80s things of the week.
Yeah, I also clocked the John Wayne and Jimmy Stewart impressions. I ran some of the numbers through an inflation calculator. So 5,200 back in 86, 87 would run about $14,000 after taxes in today's money. And of course, for the whole day costing Sam $9,000 means it would have been his estimated year's salary of $25,000. But yeah, all of Diane's dresses that Sam bought her from the window, the like peak 80s fashion. And this last one is more like it's an 80s moment, but also kind of, is it a meme kind of moment? It kind of bridges those two where, Norm is talking about his jewelry wholesaler and he says, oh, it's a guy saying, come here. And so the image that pops in your mind is of a guy on the street corner with the trench coat who opens it with the watches and rings and stuff inside the lining of the jacket. So it's like, is that a meme? But it's definitely not an image that you go to nowadays when you think of scalpers, because we have the bots.
There you go. It's all online for you.
Yeah.
Here's a creepy guy online with an online trench coat ready to give you what you need.
Yeah.
Tookie, how white was this week's episode?
Not that white. We bounced back. We did it.
Was really kind of I was kind of stunned like by how prominent the many extras of color were in that show.
Yeah. So they packed it in. There were several cases of reused extras who I did not count in the final tally just because so many were reused, because it was like, oh, this is all happening on the same day, in a sense. But it was a ton. So in the opening, we had a Black woman pass behind Norm, a Latina woman behind the bar, behind Woody, possibly a Latino man at the bar in front of the jukebox, and a Black man who quickly passed behind Frasier, but he was like cut out of the scene. So the continuity is a little off. It is like super quick if you catch him. He was walking with somebody else. In scene 1, a Black woman next to the jukebox, a Black man and woman who were sitting at a table, a Latina woman at the back of the bar, and an Asian woman comes up to talk to her. A Black woman standing up by the piano, a Black man sitting by the piano, and a Black woman on the phone. And the Black woman on the phone is an extra who gets reused a lot in scenes afterwards, because you just see her kind of strolling around the bar. Scene 2, an Asian man sitting behind Norm, a Black woman who passed by the audience side of the bar, a Black man who passed behind Carla, and then another Black man who passed on the audience side of the bar, and then the reused extra who was on the phone earlier. A Black man sitting at the bar, a Black man by the door, another Black woman at the bar who's a reused extra, 2 Black women standing at the piano, a Black woman at the back wall, and an Asian woman who came down the stairs. Scene 4, a Latino man in the upper booth sitting, a Black woman who passed behind Diane, an Asian woman and Latina woman who were reused extras, a Black man reused extra, and then a Black woman who entered the bar, an Asian woman who was wearing white by the jukebox, an Asian woman who walked in from the pool hallway, a Black man in red who passed in front of the piano, and then the Asian man who comes up to the woman by the jukebox who's a reused extra. And then scene 5 all repeats, and scene 6 is just Diane and Sam, so no people of color. But all in all, without counting the repeated extras, 26 people of color this episode.
Is that a record?
It might be. It's up there.
That's a high count.
They packed it in.
An accounting firm.
Yeah. It's up there. Like, I'm thrilled. I was thrilled to see that. Yeah.
Good to see. Redeeming part of Diamond Sam.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. Well, I think I'm ready to put this episode to bed. Next week we get the Tortellis, which makes me very happy.
Yay!
I'm glad we're gonna skirt like the possible latent anti-Semitism of the wholesale diamond industry possibly being like looked down upon. Like, I feel like I'm glad we're just gonna kind of like just steer around
I hadn't even thought about that. I mean, Dave, if you want to go to town on them, I'm ready.
No, you know what? This episode, they did a good job populating the bar with a population that looked like America. I don't want to take them to task for, I don't want to, it's hard enough out there right now.
Yeah.
You hear that? Cheers. You've been spared the space laser for this week. Thank you, Dave.
You're welcome.
Yes.
You power down, click.
All right. Do we have anything to plug this week?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I will, I don't know if anybody's going to be in Wakefield, Rhode Island tomorrow night. I'm going to go down to the Pump House for their open mic and play a few songs. So if you find yourself in Wakefield and you're outside and you want to go someplace warm, the Pump House is there, and I'll be there, and you can listen to my yowling.
Yay. Tomorrow is the first day of Black History Month. And I am part of a really fun lineup at the Burren at 10 p.m. in Somerville.
Ooh.
And Friday, I'll be at Lansdowne Pub by Fenway at 7:30 and at 9 o'clock at the Rockwell.
It was a terrific weekend.
Yeah.
Lansdowne Pub, also a very fun place to see a show.
Yeah.
I think that's it's a good venue. Good venue for stuff. Burn, also a great place to see a show, but I also understand that 10 o'clock is late for most of our viewers. So
that's my bedtime.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Dave is already dressed for it.
That's another reason why we're not panning down, because someone's in his jammies.
Yeah.
All right. As usual, I have nothing to plug. This is my whole life. I'm plugging next Tuesday's episode of Norm the Cheers podcast.
You sure you don't want to dig into the anti-Semitism then? We got time. You're here.
Here's the thing. I feel like it would have been anti-Semitic for me to say, like, and the wholesale jewelry market, we know who that is. So I don't feel like there's a safe way for me to get into that. So this is really, if you're feeling strong about it, it's kind of like if the show had attacked the media and I'm like, Dave, can you believe this?
I like how I've become the show's resident Jewish person when I am exactly, if not less Jewish than our esteemed co-host.
I feel like we put enough burdens upon Tookie to be like, how do young people feel about this? How do women feel about this? How do black people feel about this? Dave, I'm going to ask you to carry the tribe's luggage on this.
That seems reasonable.
The tribe has already carried so much for 40 years.
There's been so much wandering.
In the desert.
Yeah. I really feel like we're going through the airport. We can't have Tookie carry all the luggage.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right. Until next week, I'm Tookie. That's Dave. Shabbat shalom, everybody. Stay safe.
Wait, you're Tookie now?
I don't know who the fuck I am. It's the year of the rabbit, man. Crazy shit's going on. I don't know what's going on. It's Lycee and oranges for all my men.
Yay.
Have a great week, everybody. Go out, buy some diamonds, not from De Beers. God bless you. See ya.